just fade into the night. Yeah, we just faded in the night. Yeah, she just want a night to remember. I told her.
What's up everyone, it's Shapy here. Today I want to chat to you about a site that I love using. It's called Letterboxd. It's a cool site for movie lovers like myself. You can check out your friends' ratings too, which is cool on it, so you can see what they've been watching. There's also popular movie lists at the moment, so you can see what everyone else is watching in the world. They also got the latest news for films, so you can keep up to date with that. They also have popular reviews for films for that week. Also, they got amazing lists as well for practically anything you want to search for. Also, on your profile, you can have your favorite films show off for your friends, so they can see what the hell you've been watching and what's your favorite. As well as watch lists, what you want to watch, and recent activity, so people can see what you've been rating. So I use it quite a bit. I'm not sponsored by Letterboxd for this video. I just wanted to show off what the site is and why I love it so much. So anyway, let's get into today's video. Guys, Shapy here. I know this is a different type of video than what you're used to. I want to get into movies though, not just video games, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I hope I get some of yous re-returning, because I like watching movies and I want to tell you all about what I've been watching. So first of all, let me start with the first couple movies I've watched during the month of May. Yeah, they both got Naomi Watts. They're both type of survival, you have to rescue someone type movie, so I wanted to fit them in. I had a double feature of it. Start with Infinite Storm though. I feel like that was the lesser of the two movies, but had the better acting overall by Naomi Watts. I feel like she tried her hardest in this movie, even though the script was pretty shit. Plot was alright. It was about her trying to save someone on a mountain when there's a storm, and it had too many points where it was just unrealistic for me. I felt like they kept on trying different things one after another. Definitely pushed the true story bit of it too far. I feel like it was getting a bit unrealistic by the end. It dragged too long too, or it just kept on going. It felt like I was watching a 2.5 hour movie. The third act especially, it started off good, but then once they hit the third act, I felt like it could have been stopped like half an hour sooner. It's a movie on Prime, but I checked and it doesn't seem to be there at the moment. I think they took it down, so I'm not too sure where you can watch Infinite Storm at. You might have to get it on Blu-ray. And Desperate Hour now we'll talk about. It was beautifully shot, I must admit. That's probably why I gave it that extra 1.5 stars, because it was a lot better shot film, I feel like. One little irk I had with it that bumped it a bit down as well was the twist. There was a stupid twist halfway through the movie, which was so obvious when they were trying to hint at it at the beginning of the movie. I was like, please don't make it this, and they did, and it really hurt. Fan of this movie in particular, if you're a fan of the ones where they're just filmed in the one location for the majority of the movie, where it stays with the character, like Lock with Tom Hardy for example, even though that movie was 10 times better than this one, it's very similar in that situation. I'm a bit generous with the rating with the 3 stars, but I feel like it's very relevant with what's going on, especially the last month with all the shootings that are happening. So it was a tough movie. It definitely wasn't very happy, but I thought it was well made, and I might be a bit generous with the 3 stars, but that's my rating. I also watched it on Prime as well as Infinite Storm. This one is still up on Prime, thank God. So if you want to watch it, go ahead, but you have to pay for it. It's not one of those free Prime ones, sadly. But yeah, I recommend it if you like those type of secluded movies. Next movie I want to quickly dive into is Beverly Hills Cop 2. Now, I've seen the first one a while ago, but I never watched any of the sequels, so I want to watch number 2. I'm just going to quickly say it was really good. It was better than the first one, I feel like. It was that good. Very funny. Eddie Murphy in his prime here. This is probably one of the funniest movies he's been in. I think I saw it on Prime as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think you have to buy it, and I forget exactly where. I'll put the link in the description if I can find it. Next one I'll be talking about is Dog, with Channing Tatum in it. Surprisingly, I didn't really look too much into it when I put it on. It was just when I put something on in the background that caught my attention. Pretty easy. That's why I gave it a 3-star. I wasn't really having any expectations going into it, and it surprised me. It was very quick, very easy watch. It didn't bore me at all. It didn't drag on like Infinite Storm did. It was a good watch. It wasn't outstanding. Like, nothing jumped out where you're like, ooh, that's fantastic, but it was nothing bad in it. It carried throughout the whole movie on a perfect tone. Battles with PTSD for Marines, and I think that's a issue that doesn't get talked about enough in movies. It's a dog film as well, so who doesn't love dogs? Easy watch when there's a dog in there. I watched Dog on Amazon Prime as well, so if you want to watch it there, that's where I recommend it. Very much recommend it if you've got nothing to watch and you want to watch something to put on the background, or another storm type natural disaster movie with the perfect storm. That one was a lot better than the other typical survival movies that I liked watching. That's why I gave it 3.5. It was really good. You can watch it on Binge or Stan. I watched it on Binge because I just got a membership. Those typical survival type natural disaster movies like Poseidon, Adrift, those type of movies. But I feel like it's very top of the line on quality. It has a great cast. George Clooney. It had a young Mark Wahlberg in it. This is like before he went big. John C. Reilly was in it as well. I remember his performance actually took me by surprise. He was very underrated in it. Has great CGI. I felt like the actual storm of the wave was realistic. You definitely felt what they were going through. It was based on a true story, so that probably hypes the movie up a little bit more because you know what actually happened. I recommend it if you like natural disaster type movies or rescue films, any of those like survival type ones. It didn't drag on, it felt perfect in length. Alright, the next one I want to get into is Hillbilly Elegy. I want to do a quick review for this because it was pretty good, but there's not much to say. I watched it on Netflix. It's a great story about the politician J.D. Vance. You probably haven't heard of him if you're here in Australia, but he's had quite the rise in the past few years. This was definitely like one of those Oscar type films where they're trying to get a Oscar out of it, Oscar bait as people like to call it. Great performance by Amy Adams though. She was amazing in it. I don't know why she didn't get nominated. I could see her winning an Oscar for it, but other than that, it was just one of those realistic, true stories about someone growing up and getting somewhere further in life than what people really envisioned. I would recommend it if you're into those like coming of age type films. Talk about Charlie Wilson's War. This one's under the radar. I didn't really hear about this till it got recommended to me. I don't know why. It has a great cast. Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks. Who else is in? Amy Adams again. Actually, I remember I watched this right after the last film, and that's when I'm like, Amy Adams is in this again. And Philip Seymour Hoffman. Oh, he was an amazing actor. I must admit. Every time I see him in a movie, he blows my mind. Recommend this if you're a fan of Tom Hanks type movies, like those dramas. It was based on real events, so if you're into war, politics, and any of that, you'd love it because it dives deep into the corrupt side of war and what they actually get up to. So if you love those type of films, I definitely recommend you watch that. Alright, the next one's probably the big one that everyone wants to hear about, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. It's a very controversial movie. I watched it at the movies, I quite enjoyed it. My friends didn't like it, so it was kind of a polarizing film. I thought it was alright. That's why I gave it a 3-star. It did, I don't know, I thought it would be a bit better. It was a bit overhyped going in. Everyone was looking forward to the cameos the most, and yeah, I think that a lot of people got let down a little bit at least by it, even if they liked the movie. The classic Sam Raimi feel to it with that old Evil Dead zoom shot sometimes. You could just tell it was a film made by him just by some of the cinematography that was used. He's a great director, always brings it when he tries his hardest. You could definitely feel the horror element that he brought, probably the scariest Marvel film that they've ever done, which I like because sometimes Marvel, they need to change things up and just bring out a different side of them, because some of the Marvel movies can get stale pretty easy. I love the cameos in it, they were good. Can't really get into spoilers on what was my favourite, but the third act, it dragged. Like, I was checking the time nearly when the third act was on. I was like, come on, get to the point. It was, yeah, that was the one letdown that bumped it down for me, because I was quite enjoying it till the third act. It was really holding my suspense. I love Scarlet Witch in the film as well. She was amazing. Probably the standout to the film, in my opinion. What I quickly want to do is Beaches. Probably a lot of you haven't seen this. It's an older film, but gave it a 2-star. I know a lot of people love this film, but for me, it bored the shit out of me, if I'm being honest. It dragged so long, kept on repeating different circumstances where they fought, came back together, made up, fought again. It was just I don't like musicals as it is to begin with, and it was like a half musical, half drama, and it just, I felt like it was definitely not the type of film for me. It felt long, but the acting was good. I'll give it that. The acting was good. If they cut a lot of the stuff down, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more. Watched it on Disney Plus. I remember hearing about people hyping it up, so I checked it out. Oh well, you can't love every film, I guess, but yeah, I don't know, I recommend it for people that love musicals, but yeah, it just wasn't the type of film for me. Next one was Burying the Ex. I remember that one. That was probably the biggest surprise of me that month, that film. It was really good. Because I went going in didn't knowing really what it was about. I knew the title of the film, you know, something would have happened with the X type of zombie film, but I didn't know the cast or anything. It had the late great Anton Yelchin in it, who was an amazing actor. Everything I've seen him in, and we'll talk about a movie coming up that he's been in as well that I loved. It was probably the standout of the movie. It had a great pace to it. It was a fun movie. Like, you never got bored. Great horror comedy, and I love horror comedy, so that was right up my alley. I watched it on YouTube. I had to pay for it because I was looking around on streaming services. It wasn't on any, sadly, but yeah, I definitely recommend it if you love horror comedies like I do. So please check out this film if you haven't. It's a sleeper of a film. The next one I want to talk about is Tropic Thunder. That's everyone knows Tropic Thunder. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I definitely recommend it. It's probably got one of the best comedy casts of all time in it. Ben Stiller, you name it, everyone in it. Robert Downey Jr., the list goes on. Tom Cruise was even in it. That's a big surprise. I remember when I first watched this movie, I was like, what the fuck, is that Tom Cruise? story. It was real original. Like, they definitely went creative with it. I love the trailers at the start of the film too. That was very funny. I used to give it a 4 stars, but I've watched it that many times that it's kind of dampened down a little, just a tiny bit of how much I've enjoyed the film. It's still a classic. I still think it's a great comedy that anyone should check out at least once. Give it a go. And yeah, I watched it on Stan. I'm pretty sure it's on Stan. I think it's on a few websites as well, like Disney Plus or some of them. But it's pretty easy to find. It's a very popular movie. Right, the next one I want to talk about is Aeroplane, or Flying High. It was also called. For some reason they changed the tag a lot. It depends where you watched it. I always remembered it as Aeroplane, but it was a great comedy. I know I only put it as 3 stars, but that's probably because I've watched it over 1,000 times. The jokes just don't hit the same like they used to, but originally it's one of the funniest films I've ever seen. Same people that did the Naked Gun films, which are probably my favourite comedy films I've ever watched, so it's definitely my type of comedy, and I definitely suggest that you watch it at least once. It has Leslie Nielsen in it, who I feel like is one of the funniest actors.
How soon can you land?
I can't tell.
You can tell me, I'm a doctor.
I watched it on Amazon Prime, so if that's where you want to check it out, look there and you'll find it. Next one I want to talk about is Memory. I know this one got a lot of shit by a lot of people over the past month or two that it came out. I actually really liked it. I don't know if it's because I went in with no expectations, thinking it was going to be bad, but I thought it was going to be a typical Liam Neeson film, which it kind of is to some degree with the action and that, but it hits different with a different premise. It's not the usual revenge type Liam Neeson film. It actually has some character to it and different multicultural references as well, which I like. Liam Neeson isn't exactly a good guy in this film as well, which is something different that we're not really used to. Haven't seen him as a bad guy in a while, so I'm glad that the balls to change that up. It's a solid action film. The twists are a bit predictable. That's probably the one bad thing about it. It's nothing really new or fresh, but it's a solid action film. I recommend it. Next one I want to talk about is The Bucket List. I've watched it a few times now. I've really enjoyed it. It's one of Jack Nicholson's last films that he ever did. So sadly, that's the case. He's one of the greatest actors of all time. I watched this one on Netflix. I remember it popped up and I was like, oh, I'll give it another go. I remember the first time I watched it, I didn't really like it that much, but on second viewing I enjoyed it a lot more than what I did on the first viewing for The Bucket List. It's a great film that has real emotion. It packs a punch. Surprisingly really funny as well. I thought at the beginning it was just going to be this dark type of film, but it's actually really emotionally heavy, but it's like funny at the same time. It's hard to really get the perfect mix in that, but I think the movie does a perfect job with mixing the sad moments and the funny moments. I definitely recommend it if you like dark type comedies and about the final stages of someone's life. Hannibal, one of the great film trilogies ever, the Silence of the Lambs trilogy. I've watched Silence of the Lambs that much that I didn't need to really watch it this month. I just wanted to jump right into Hannibal. I gave this one a 3.5 stars, and it's definitely the weakest out of the 3, but I still think it's a really good movie. Anthony Hopkins, of course, is amazing in it as Hannibal. He's the star of the show, I feel like. Clarice. The casting kind of hurt the film because I feel like they misused her a lot. They made her a lot weaker and choosing stupid decisions that Jodie Foster wouldn't have done in the first one. So I thought that was a bit of the weak points of the film, but other than that, it was a great thriller. Gary Oldman as well. forgot to mention him. He was a great like side villain. Didn't even recognize it was him until I looked at the cast and I was like, who the hell's playing this guy? But Gary Oldman, he can play anyone. He's such a great actor. If you want to check it out, it's on Binge, as well as the next film I'm going to talk about, which is Red Dragon. This one's probably, it's tied there with Silence of the Lambs for me. It's such a different film from Silence of the Lambs that it's kind of hard to compare the two, but this one's more of a detective thriller, which are probably my favourite type of films. So it hit me right in the... Ed Norton's the main guy in this, and he's probably one of my favourite actors ever. His great performances I've loved every time I've watched him in something, especially American History X, one of my favourites. Surprisingly, Hannibal isn't in this a lot as well, compared to the previous two, Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal. He's not really in this one for a lot, but it doesn't impact the film whatsoever, because you've got such a great lead actor and great storytelling and great villain, and Ralph Fiennes, he was an amazing villain, that you don't really need Hannibal. He's there for just to spice it up. He's like the cherry on top of the cake, just to hold the film together to make it perfect. I definitely recommend all three. Just watch all three: Silence, Hannibal, Red Dragon. Probably one of the best trilogies there is out there. Definitely recommend it. I watched it on Binge as well with Hannibal, so it's pretty easy to locate, and definitely think you guys should check it out. Alright, so these next three I've seen a few times. They're actually some of my favourite horror / thriller movies I've seen, so I just wanted to watch them all one night, just to not really watch anything new, just, you know how you watch your favourites sometimes. First one I want to talk about is Green Room. That's these are all 4 stars coming up, by the way, because they're some of my faves. But this one, one of the most realistic, gory films I've ever watched, probably. Amazing thriller. It's just very dark and dirty. The film's about a punk band that gets stuck in like a Nazi venue because they're not allowed out, and stuff starts happening to them. It's got a great cast in it. Joe Cole's in it. Imogen Poots, I've seen her in a few things, she's good. Patrick Stewart's in it, he's the bad guy in the film, and he's amazing in it. Surprisingly, he's a good bad guy. And also, the best performance out of them is Anton Yelchin again. He's amazing in another film, probably his best role I've ever seen him in, and it's sad that he passed while he was in the prime of his career, sadly. Definitely recommend this. I watched this on Shudder though, and not a lot of people have Shudder. It's very underrated. It's just all horror movies on that app, and definitely recommend you check out Green Room. Next film I want to talk about is Train to Busan. One of the best zombie movies I've seen. Definitely a top 5, I'd say, for such a genre that's oversaturated with just the same repeated zombie stuff every few years of like 5 zombie movies. This one's actually different. It's got a good original premise, and it's a Korean zombie film, which is different. I'm not usually used to the international zombie films. The thing that probably helps it a lot is it's never boring. It's always feels like it's on a constant action scene, one after another. It's also got a lot of heart in it, which not a lot of zombie type films do. It's a very emotional movie, even for a zombie film. I watched this film on Amazon Prime, so it's pretty easy to watch. I think it's been on Netflix and a few other ones, so it's a very popular movie. It's also got a sequel to it that I haven't watched yet, because I heard it was a bit meh, but I might check it out soon if I get recommended it. Last but not least, The Night House. That was such a good movie. I remember watching it for the first time at the cinema with friends. Everyone loved it. I still think it's the best movie that came out last year. It was probably my favourite movie of 2021. This time though, I watched it on Disney Plus at home. I don't know if it was, I thought it was going to be a different experience, not at the cinemas, but it still hit very well. It was still the effective jump scares that didn't do the obvious jump scare like a lot of horror movies do. It was very thrilling. Even with the second watch, I really enjoyed the thrill aspect and the mystery type of what did the husband get up to. Very dark and sad though, so if you enjoy like fun horror movies, I probably wouldn't recommend it, but it's very emotional. And Rebecca Hall as well was amazing. She should have. I'm still sad she didn't get any recognition for her role in this. She definitely should have got a nomination at the Oscars, but you know how they are with horror type movies. They don't give them enough respect, but she was amazing in this film. I feel like the only thing that's not stopping it from getting a 4.5 star is probably the ending, which is very. A lot of people have said that they're disappointed with the ending, me included. I can see what they were going with the ending, but it's definitely not what I would have written if I was in charge of the ending. I felt like they could have done that a little bit better, but other than that, the film is just perfect. It's always constantly thrilling. I recommend it to horror fans. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you again probably next week with a gaming video, but I'll try and do these once a month. Try and get out all the movies that I've seen, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know if you want to see more. But other than that, it's been Shapy, and take care, guys.